Hi, Kynan. It's very good to speak to you today. This is a great opportunity to sort of, how we have train the trainer. Well, this is going to be sort of having an interview with the facilitator, which normally is on the other shoe when you are having an interview with people that have started their own business and asking them the questions. Well, the shoe's now on the other foot, and we're going to ask you questions.
Yeah, look, it's actually really exciting, and I didn't realise how nerve-wracking it actually is for the people that I'm interviewing. So, yeah, really looking forward to this, Paul.
Absolutely. So let's get the ball rolling. What's the role of an entrepreneurship facilitator?
All right. Look, basically, the Entrepreneurship Facilitation Service came into being nearly 3 years ago now. And basically, the federal government sort of gave us the brief of increasing entrepreneurship in Mandurah. They didn't give us any sort of definition of what Mandurah was. They didn't give us any definition of what entrepreneurship was. So I really see entrepreneurship as being anything where somebody's finding a way of creating their own income. So a little bit outside the normal, not necessarily 9-to-5 job, because often it is them doing a 9-to-5 job, but that they're doing it for themselves and to earn their own income. Mandurah, I really see as being pretty much anywhere south of Fremantle. There is another entrepreneurship facilitation service in Midland, and we're basically told just make sure we don't bump up against them. So I see anywhere in sort of these surrounding areas to Mandurah as being, the people that we work with. And I have worked with people from, as far north as Fremantle and, people from down in the southwest. So it's anyone sort of around that area that I'm looking to just help to generate that personal income.
Excellent. What do you most enjoy about this role?
Look, it probably is. A lot of what I guess I get off on is helping people to be the best that they can possibly be. So if I can be helping their business to be the best that it can possibly be, then that's really fulfilling my why and the reason that I'm here.
Excellent. Obviously, you've had a lot of experience and particularly life experience, work experience, and employment experience lends itself to this. How do you then put that experience to the stories that you actually then share with the very people that are looking to start their own journeys with starting a business?
Yeah, well, look, I guess I've dabbled in self-employment. I've run a lot of martial arts clubs, particularly in New Zealand, where I was just prior to the Entrepreneurship Facilitation Service. God, isn't that a mouthful? But anyway, that's where I was prior to sort of coming into this role. So I do have that understanding of what goes into to running a business yourself. My background has largely been in government with the Ministry of Social Development in New Zealand, where actually I performed a very similar role to what I do now with the entrepreneurship. Let's just call it EFS. It's a lot easier. So I did a lot of work there with people who were looking to come out of the benefit system using self-employment. Wasn't always successful for them. Sometimes what you learn is that actually self-employment isn't for me, and to move forward I need to go and get that work and life experience first. One of the first questions I always ask people when they say, I've got this business idea, I want to set up a whatever widget factory, and it's like, well, cool, there's a widget factory like that down the road, why don't you just go and work for them first? And if their reason is just that they want to make widgets, then that's probably the easier way to go. If their thing is that they want their widgets to change the world and they want to be in control of those widgets, then possibly self-employment is where they need to go with that.
And that's a really good and important point. Who have been your biggest influences? Who or what have been your biggest influence? Because obviously role modeling is really important, and so who has been there in that sort of capacity for you?
All right. Well, one of my jobs in New Zealand was working for a group called Workwise that use, and this is a little plug for the Workwise team if they end up watching this. And Workwise uses employment as a primary health intervention to help people recovering from mental health issues. So really brilliant business. Anyway, a little bit off track. My manager there was a man called Tyrone Penny, and he put me on to a guy called Andrew O'Keefe, who he works around human instinct. Now, I'd been doing a lot of stuff in sort of management practices prior, in sort of breaking people down into smaller teams and have the leaders of these smaller teams sort of reporting back to me. But I had nothing behind why I was doing that. Andrew O'Keefe is right into human instinct, which is basically sort of to bring the theory down to its smallest part. Human beings are animals. So we tend to gravitate into these small tribal sort of groups, or beyond the tribal group into little family groups. And that's why these pods that I was forming were working so well, because people typically like to gather in groups of 4 plus or minus 2, which is about the size of a normal family. Next time you're at a networking event or something, just have a look what happens. If there's a group of 4 people and another couple of people walk over there, that group will just naturally break off into 2 groups of about 3. And then they'll start sort of forming up, and then they'll break off. I think some terrorist organisations also work on the same theory, but we'll leave that. The other one that I've got right into more recently is Simon Sinek. I'm right into one of the first things that I dig into with people is, what is their why? If you don't know why you're doing things, you might do it really well. I mean, the best baker in town isn't necessarily the guy that runs the best bakery. So finding out what your why is and why it is that you want to be in business is so incredibly important. If you don't understand your why, none of the other stuff works.
Absolutely. Can you sort of break us down a little bit about the type of workshops that you actually present at the EFS, and sort of who you're able to then bring to those workshops to actually, present? And I believe that you've got businesses that actually come along, and experts in their fields that come along to do some of those workshops. Can you give us a little bit more about what type of those workshops are and who gets involved?
Well, the next workshop that we've got running is actually for people sort of starting up their business over the age of 45, and I believe we've got a brilliant presenter coming along to do that one, a gentleman by the name of Paul Letwin. But look, basically we've gone through and we've looked at what sort of questions are people regularly asking us about, and we've really tried to sort of gear our workshops towards those things. A lot of it is things sort of around your social media marketing and that sort of thing, because people are always interested in that stuff. And there's also a smattering of probably sort of what I'd sort of call meatier sort of topics. I think we've got one coming up around managing your cash flow. So some of the more sort of finance sort of based stuff. So it's really whatever information people are wanting to know about. I'd suggest that if people are interested in our workshops, they have a look on our Facebook page, which is where those sort of get advertised all the time. We also advertise them on the Skills Strategies website, and we've got a tab specifically for entrepreneurship, and you can see what's coming up. I think it's for the next year. So basically we try and have at least one a month. Coming up to the end of this year, I think we've got 4 coming up over the next month, basically because nothing seems to happen in December and people are slow to get back in January. So we're front-ending them at the end of November and very start of December.
I'm really, it's very interesting you make mention about this one coming up, and, it's for over 45s. And it's great that there is that focus and opportunity, because I would think that that's one of the ones that, myths, that if you can't start a business once you're in your 40s or in your 50s, and it tends to be a bit of a myth that you really can't do it. Would you agree that it would be something quite the opposite with the life experience that you have and what you can bring?
Totally. Yeah, it's actually more of a rarity for me to see a really young entrepreneur. I have had a couple, and they're really talented young people who basically just can't see how they would ever work for somebody else. It's just that's their mindset, that's how they work. And I think we're going to see more of those sort of people coming along sort of in the future. But yeah, I couldn't imagine, 20-year-old Kynan could not have run a business. 45-year-old Kynan, he was running little businesses.
And I think that's really important, especially ageism is a big debate and a big issue in this country about once you're in your late 40s or into your 50s, there seems to be a use by date that's connected to that. And, and starting a business is a prime example of that, and encouraging people of that age group who have significant life and work experience to be able to start their business.
Look, exactly. And we're going to be working to at least 65. Chances are by the time we get there, they're going to move the goalpost and it's going to be more like 70. So from 45, you've got another 20, 25, maybe 30 years of working life ahead of you. Why shouldn't you be doing something that you're passionate about?
Yeah, and that's really important. What about success stories? Have you had those that have come to you that have gone and, you've had chats and they've moved on now to really do and be quite successful in the new business enterprise they've started? Have you had any of those?
Yeah, look, I've definitely had a few of those. I've had people who have come in looking to start their new business. I can think of one guy who we actually use him to do a fair bit of renovation work around our building. When he first came to see me, it was, how can I get my social media sort of working for me? Now, I actually probably did myself a disservice, because now I'm constantly having to wait for him when I need these renovation jobs done. So, just being too busy to, and I'm sure the person that we're talking about, if he watches this, John from Fortress Construction, will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Now, for anyone that obviously walks off the street and comes and says, look, I want to start a business, what's the advice? What's the prime advice that you should be, that you look to give them in relation to, there's their dream, this is what they want to do? What advice are you giving them?
Look, when that person first walks in the door, now I come from a bit of a coaching background, so what I really look to do with them is actually find out where they're at, and I sit down and I have what is it's very informal sort of a conversation. If they've got information about their business idea and that sort of thing, cool, I love to see it. But what I'm most interested is in drawing out from them, where is it that they want to get to next? And helping them to work out what are those steps. At the end of the day, I can't start your business for you, but I can help you to work through those logical steps that you need to take to get there. So probably the biggest thing that I could sort of say to anyone, research. Do your research first. Whatever research you do prior to starting is going to pay you back double, triple once you actually get going. So research, and if you haven't done enough research, do a bit more research. But at some point you reach that stage where I've just got to jump in. I've got to actually take that first step, because I also see a lot of people sort of coming into our workshops again and again and again, and they need to actually take that next step and actually get started. You might not even have to leave your current employment that you're doing in order to do these extra bits outside to actually get started. Until you actually get started, you can plan for forever and a day. So the two bits of advice are almost contradictory to each other. Doesn't matter how much planning you do, you're still going to find some things that you weren't ready for. and you've just got to develop with and work through those as you go. I think Mike Tyson at one point sort of said that everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, faith. Yeah.
Yeah.
If this podcast was going to have a title, what would you give it?
Look, my thoughts here are not half as exciting as what some of the people that I've interviewed have come up with. I just came up with where did EFS Mandurah come from?
Yep. And that's important, because sometimes it's not about the colourful way or creative way that you give something a title. For some people, it's really the important and the key essence and messages that they want to get. And
yep. Look, at the end of the day, it's what's on the box.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we're coming to the end of our chat, and it's been absolutely great to talk to you. Can you give our listeners some further details about where to find EFS in Mandurah and some contact details as well?
Yep, look, I'd be quite happy to see people just walk in off the street to our lovely offices at 191 Mandurah Terrace. Look, really gorgeous, really inviting building. We've got a cafe out the front that we should hopefully get up and running again shortly, but that's closed for renovations at the moment, hence why I'm always trying to find John. They can also find us on Facebook, so if you're just that little bit inquisitive and you want to know what this is all about, so go to Skills Strategies International Mandurah and you'll find sort of our main Facebook page. We've also got a second Facebook page, Entrepreneurship Facilitators Mandurah. So either of those pages, you'll be able to see all the events that we've got upcoming. And look, just come along to one of our events. They're all free. It doesn't cost you anything to participate in this program. In fact, well, it does, in that you've already paid for it through your taxes.
Yeah, correct.
So you might as well use the service that's here for you. Look, I'm not going to have the answers to every question that people have got, but one of the things I am good at doing is finding out who in the area is the expert in that. And that's why I get those experts in to run our events for us and that sort of thing, so that we can have the very best people working with us to help the people that we're supporting to become the very best people in business.
Perfect. Kynan, thank you so much for your time today. Like I said, when the shoe's on the other foot, it can be a bit daunting, but I think the responses that you've given today are great, and it really gives us sort of the behind the scenes about what EFS is all about. And you've provided a lot of that and quite a bit of information, and I think the workshops, by the looks of them, are growing, which is great, and more people are getting to know about the various workshops that they can attend. So really appreciate your time today.
No problem at all, Paul. Thank you very much for your time to interview me.
Thank you.